Are your chickens losing or missing feathers? Let's look into possible causes and ways that you can help them through this. Welcome back to Bok Bok Bouquet. I'm Kelly, and today we're going to be going over different causes for your chickens to be losing and missing feathers and how to tell the difference between them. There's molting, feather picking, rooster damage, and lice and mites. But first, let's talk about molting. Molting is when a chicken loses its feathers, usually annually once a year, and they regrow new feathers, and it is perfectly normal and they all have to go through it. Chicks go through mini molts as they're growing up, but they usually get their first annual molt at around 18 months of age, and then they will get it once a year. Usually once the seasons start to change, once the daylight hours start getting shorter, is when they'll start to molt. And it's kind of the worst time of year because you think like, oh, it's getting colder, my poor birds are losing their feathers, but this is when they happen to do it. And when they're missing their feathers and growing new ones, all their energy will be going into growing new feathers. So you will notice a drop in egg production, or they will completely stop laying eggs during this time. It takes a lot of energy and protein to make new feathers, so everything they got is going to be going towards that right now. They can look pretty sad and ugly during this time, but it's not a disease. It's normal, and it's something that they all have to go through. They'll usually go through their first hard molt at 18 months of age, and it can last anywhere between 4 weeks to 3 months, depending on the chicken breed. Some higher production breeds that are bred to lay more eggs will usually go through a really hard molt where they'll lose all their feathers all at once and probably look the worst, but then they'll regrow them back the fastest so they can get back to laying eggs. Some chickens will go through lighter molts and not be missing that many feathers and then grow them back kind of slower. So your girls can go through different stages at different times. And some it will happen kind of late. It might be in the dead of winter when this can happen. So we're going to go over some ways that you can help your ladies and your roosters through this. Like I said, it takes a lot of energy to regrow these new feathers, so one way you can really help them out is by upping their protein. One way to do this is you can feed back to them scrambled eggs. It has a lot of nutrition and everything they need for them in there. And another way, our favorite way, is we use Grub Terra, which is really high in calcium and protein. It's like chicken crack. They go insane for it, and they will love you for it. And it's really, really full of protein, and it's a great treat to give them to help them regrow their feathers. One thing you want to help them with is lower their stress. It takes a lot of energy to regrow these feathers, so they don't want to be stressed right now. It'll make their molt even harder on them. And one way to lower their stress is to not add any new chickens right now. Do not piss them off. And make sure that they're not getting any stress from predators. Make sure the coop is perfectly safe and they're not getting stress from like dogs coming into your yard or seeing anything that frightens them. Keep their stress really minimal at this time. And the pin feathers, you'll notice as they start growing back, they'll lose all their feathers, and then once they regrow their new feathers, they'll have these pins coming up. They'll look like a pin cushion, a sea urchin, whatever you want to call it. That's kind of nasty looking, but they can be painful. They're like little needles, so be careful handling your birds right now. In fact, really do not pick them up. It'll hurt if you push those pin feathers and it pokes them back into them, so it can hurt. Be careful handling your girls. Those pin feathers are kind of nasty. Let them preen them, get the waxing coating on them, and let the new feathers come out before you're hugging and cuddling your little pin cushion birds. If they're going through a super hard molt and they've lost pretty much all their feathers, like our one chicken OG last year, they will lose the inability to fly at all. And she's our top queen hen, so she likes to fly and roost on the top highest roost that we have because she's the queen, and she lost the inability to fly, so she liked to go to sleep in a nesting box. And you do not want chickens pooping in your nesting boxes where you're getting and collecting your eggs. So what we did is we got this little tote, we cut a hole in it, and every night she would walk in there to sleep when she was going through her hard molt. But once she regrew her new feathers, she was back to her queen position again. Another reason your chickens may be missing feathers is feather picking, which is from boredom. And you can usually tell that because not all their feathers will be missing in the typical spots. It'll usually be at random spots like the tail or the head or something. And you'll notice that your girls are picking on other girls if you're in your yard observing your chickens. And a way to stop that is make sure they are not bored. Keep them entertained. We have grazing boxes for our girls to forage all day, and we like to hang chicken piñatas, cabbage or lettuce for them to go at. Another reason they could be cannibalizing and feather picking is a protein deficiency. So again, make sure they are getting the protein they need. Another reason that they could be missing feathers is rooster damage. When the rooster gets on the girls, he stands on their backs, and he holds on with his beak on the back of their neck. So if it's rooster damage, their feathers will be missing on the tops of their backs, and usually the back of the head they'll be plucked. And how we help the girls with that is we get these cute little adorable hen aprons to put on the girls' backs, and they look cute trotting around the yard, and it protects them from the rooster claws. When the feathers are regrowing back though, if you lift the saddle and notice their feathers are growing back at this point, you may want to remove the cute little hen apron because they're going to need to preen the waxing coating off those pin feathers, and they won't be able to do that if they have a piece of fabric laying on top of it. Another reason your chickens may be missing feathers is lice and mites, and we go over everything that you need to know about that in this video here, and we'll link it in the description below. We hope this helps answer some of your questions about why your chickens are missing feathers or why it looks like a down pillow exploded everywhere in your yard. So if you found this video helpful, go ahead and hit that like button. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.